आपका बहुत बहुत हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं। आप अपने विचार बताइए कि आप एसईपीसी के माध्यम से एज ए चेयरमैन, व्हाट इज योर विजन एंड व्हाट डू यू वांट टू टेक द एजेंडा अहेड, सर?
Thank you, and very good evening to all of the participants. And my pleasure that I'm joined by three distinguished dignitaries who are expert in their different field. Let me start with very frank and very honest confession that SGPC is looking at this very three distinguished dignitaries who are here in this session. That is tourism and travel, medical, including medical tourism, and education. These three are the main focus, not only of government, but also of SCPC. Let me share with you that service export has been increasing constantly. And last year's growth was almost 20%. In spite of COVID and other problems of pandemic, service export was not that badly affected compared to merchandise because number of things could be done online. But the biggest blow was to tourism, travel, and medical. And that has affected service export to a great extent. Service has been remaining a very growing sector in Indian economy. And it has showed negative growth of only 3% from 213 billion in 1920 to 206 billion in 2021. But service sector has shown a rebound in 2021. In the first 7 months of 21 alone, our service export have touched 133 billion US dollar with a growth of, as I mentioned, 20%. In the month of October itself, service export stood at 20 billion US dollar. Government's aim is to reach $1 trillion service export by the year 2030. And that is what Honorable Piyush Goyal, Minister, has been emphasizing, has been holding meetings continuously. And let me share with you, on 17th, he has held the meeting of all export service promotion councils, which will be for 3 hours. And his whole focus is to increase services from India. So service sector is a very significant for Indian economy, as it has contributed more than 55% of the total gross value added, GVA. And services industry in India attracted cumulative foreign direct investment of $283 billion in April 2000 to March 21. And from March 21 to March 22, we are expecting it to reach up to $300 billion. So that is a growth potential we are looking from SCPC point of view. That's the first point. Let me share with you, secondly, that earlier we used to have only 12 champion sectors. But now we have more than 18 sectors who are involved in service export. And in our service export central governing council, there used to be only 5 or 6 members. First time in the history, now this year we have 16 members, and every single sector is represented by different representatives. And in that, the highest focus is given to education, then to tourism, as I say, including medical tourism and travel. Now, let me share with you that in Dubai Expo itself, in the next month, they have given us a slot of 3 days where we are going to represent about travel and tourism. And I'm sorry, we are going to represent about entertainment. So for entertainment, there is a 3 days proposition to show the things alive. And there was a proposal for education increase in export, but due to pandemic, we could not participate. But we shall now be participating in accounting and auditing, as well as travel and tourism. So that's a very big leap forward. We are looking at the service export. Now, coming to the main factor, which has hurt SGPC or which has hurt many service exporters, is discontinuation of incentive by government. The incentive were given in the form of SEIS, Service Export Incentive Scheme. And that was almost 7% of the value of your export in earned and received in Indian currency from foreign exchange. Now that government has given for 1920 after 2 years, and 2021 and 21-22, no incentives are announced so far. And Honorable Minister said that why should service export depend upon the incentives by government? You are in a position to stand and export on your own. And even if we discontinue service, you can increase your services. That is a feedback Honorable Minister said I have got from various exporters. कि अगर मैं बंद कर दूं मेरा इंसेंटिव तो आप क्या एक्सपोर्ट बंद कर देंगे? तो सभी ने बोला कि नहीं नहीं हम एक्सपोर्ट तो चालू रखेंगे ही, and obviously so. But main point, you all honorable dignitaries will appreciate that unless an incentive is given, we cannot remain competitive, particularly in number of industries like tourism and travel, where GST is embedded in it. And because of GST, the cost of the tourism and travel is increased so much that if they are not given appropriate set off of the GST that they paid on the conducted tour or trips or in hotel charges, it becomes very expensive. So that is one point which government is dealing with, but no positive feedback has yet come. So far as, for example, I am a chartered accountant, being past president of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. We say that accounting and auditing is tremendous export. Let me share with you that in the USA, the CPAs which were available for $3,000 to $4,000 5 years before are now not available even at $8,000 to $10,000. As against this, Indian chartered accountants are available for $3,000. But that much of the work is not coming from USA and Australia to India because there is a competition from South Africa, Philippines, and Vietnam. And the reason is that their government is giving tremendous incentive to accounting and auditing profession also. So we are trying to convince the Honorable Minister that please look at us. For manufacturing industry, they came out with PLI scheme, production link incentives, and huge incentives were given to many merchant exporters and manufacturers. Now that helped them to expand further. Now, if I as a CA or I as a medical person wants to expand my further services so that I can reach other corners of the country, I need some support, not only the legal support, but financial support also from the government. Now, if that is stopped, I am afraid we will not be in a position to reach the target of $1 trillion by 2030. Number two, COVID-19 also has affected this travel and medical to a great extent. Hospitals are vacant, people are avoiding and delaying and deferring the operations and other treatment. So medical tourism has been affected to a great extent. And after this Omicron, the tourism sector, which started revival, again got a very big setback. And all of them are really suffering, so much so that many of them are in a position of close down. And government is conscious about that. But unless incentives and financial assistance are given, they will not be in a position to revive. So that's very important. And our SCPA has proposed an alternative scheme to SEIS called DRESS, DRESS, Duty Remission on Export of Service Scheme. The need of the hour is a level playing field with manufacturers with incentives and support to tide over the pandemic. It is a high time that the change in percentage towards services being equally important as manufacturing gains, service exports lead directly to employment of approximately 2.6 crore people in the country. And we are expecting 40 lakhs more. So totally 3 crore people will be employed only through service sector. So at SCPC, we have now increased our staff. Earlier, we were only 13 to 14 people. We are now having 40 employees. And we have DG, Deputy DG, and 5 directors with substantial staff to help various sectors. And every single person who comes to SCPC is always going back with smiling face of getting appropriate information and services. But as I told you, we are still very deeply involved, and we are after government to see that more incentives are given and export is increased. Thank you.
क्या challenges हैं ताकि हम प्रोफेसर जगदीश एन शेठ जी से आपका दर्द माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी तक पहुंचा सकते हैं? बोलिए, बताइए.
So nice of you. I can
बताइए।
only say
हाँ
that
जी,
now DGFT and Commerce Ministry are actively and sincerely involved in furtherance and increase of the service export, undoubtedly. In fact, there
right,
is a separate cell, department, and a personnel deployed exclusively for SEPC. So
yeah,
that's a very good point in our favor. But I have conveyed in a lighter way that to Honorable Minister that, sir, please don't give us stepfatherly in treatment. We feel that you are giving more importance to manufacturers than to service exporters. And the reason is we are left with no option but to continue our export even at a loss or even at a very meager profit. But that's not the intention of government. That could not be the interest of government. And all service exporters must get promotion, must get appropriate return, and in turn add value to the GDP of the country. So
yeah,
our only complaint or request or humble suggestion to honorable ministry is that please continue the incentives in any form, in any manner they like. They have now said that give us the idea of incentives being given to different sectors in different manner. So we are preparing that also. So, and to medical, they may give different incentive. To accounting, they may give different incentive. And to travel, tourism, etc., they may give different. To education, they may give different. No problem. बट वी हैव सजेस्टिंग दैट बट कुछ न कुछ गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से अगर सपोर्ट और सहाय नहीं मिलती है तो सर्विस एक्सपोर्ट जो हिसाब से प्रोग्रेस करके इंक्रीज चाहता है वो मेरे को डर है कि शायद हम we may not be able to reach to that expectation of government. And I, as a chairman, would not like that day to be seen. So my keen
yeah.
desire is to see that, yes, we reach the target of government and we give maximum incentives to the service exporters.
Very kind of you, sir. Very kind of you. This morning we had Director General Services Export Promotion Council, and now we have got Chairman Services Export Promotion Council. And it was a great, pleasant surprise for me today that today I have learned after 28 years that in India there are only two verticals. Those are exclusively working on services sector. One is the SEPC Services Export Promotion Council, and second is the ICSI International Chamber for Service Industry, which is organizing 3 days this historic event. It is indeed a great insight and a great pleasure. You have given such a wonderful insight to all of us.
Thank you so much.